Hey, what's up? It's Jaden.
And it's Annie.
And we're from With Confidence, and you're listening to the Rock Sound Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Rock Sound Podcast. I'm Will Cross, junior editor at the magazine. Joining me, as always and forever, Tamsin Wills.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good week?
It's been a pretty good week, yeah. I'm not too sure about the weather, if I'm honest. It's gone from about like 1,000,000 degrees to freezing. So I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, it is.
Otherwise,
a bit
I'm
cold.
okay.
Yeah, good stuff. And Mr. Jack Rogers.
Hello, Will.
How's it going?
I'm alright, yeah. It's been a bit of a hectic week.
Yeah, it has.
It's I don't even know why, but it's one thing after another.
A busy life being Jack Rogers.
Just consider me shook.
Oh, yes.
like this week's it's completely it shook me to my core. Like, it's just been one mental thing after another, which is the way it should be. It's better than being boring, isn't it?
Totally, yeah. It's been a pretty crazy week. So, Tamsin, kick us off.
Right, so Waterparks, they have finished album number 2, and we are all completely and utterly stoked, I think we can agree.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Jared Way has admitted that a lot of World of Warcraft was played during My Chemical Romance tours. Apart from Frank, he wasn't a fan. And you can also check out a fan-made video of Sleep by Telemaid on YouTube. Go and watch that. The Story So Far have released a new charity single called Out of It for the Brain and Behaviour Research Foundation. You are throwing in some right tongue twisters this week.
Yeah, sorry.
We Came As Romans have announced a new album Cold Like War and released the video for the title track as well. Knucklepuck have released a new song Double Helix, which is a banger.
Oh, yes.
The Used have announced a new album, The Canyon, and dropped a video for Over and Over Again. The album features 17 tracks. 17! That's a lot.
It's an hour and a half.
It is.
It's
an hour and a half of pure joy.
Yeah, it's the same as a football match. but Burt McCracken rather than...
Oh, can you imagine
Football.
that? Playing for Arsenal. Yeah.
Josh Middleton is now a full-time member of Architects. Silosis will continue as well. But for now, Josh is going to be here, there and everywhere with the Architects boys. If you want to know more about what's coming up with them, head to our YouTube channel and you can see exclusive interviews with Sam and Dan from the band. And finally, to round things up, Fall Out Boy have released a new song. What do you think, Will?
Oh, I'm really into it. I think it's like, I said this to Pete in the interview coming up, I think it's a lovely kind of middle ground between Young and Menace and Champion. It's got the kind of weird, like, experimental nature of Young and Menace, but it's got the anthemic nature of Champion. Bang into it.
Jack, you're the Fall Out Boy fan here.
Right. This is my thing. Last week, you tell me I'm not allowed to talk about Fall Out Boy anymore. Like you said, right, you've talked about Fall Out Boy too much. And then they drop this absolute rager and then say, Jack, what do you think? It's amazing. Like, I'm fully behind everything that's going on with Mania at the minute. I love the concepts. I love the colours. I love...
The llamas.
I love the llamas. I'm well into the llamas, like, big style. And I feel as like this is a track which is a really good representation of where they're heading, and it's another massive statement in a trio of statements. Like, it's sassy, it's loud, it's brash, and it's Fall Out Boy.
I loved it when he started grooving the first time we had it on the office. It was like a minute in and his eyes shut and he was just flicking away.
You know, like in The Grinch when like he gets an idea and his smile goes up really high on his cheeks and his hair curls. That was like me when Patrick started singing. But like, I'm not going to steal Christmas. I'm going to
love life.
Stage dive to Fall Out Boy or something.
You can stage dive early next year when they come back to the UK.
Literally.
For like the most intimate show I think they've probably ever done, or at least done in a very, very, very long time. I mean,
for people who haven't been to Electric Brixton, it is a shoebox. Like, it's an actual shoebox with a bar which sells Red Stripe.
Man.
And that band in there, on the form that they are now, with the scale that they are, that's just going to be stupid.
It's like someone went into Jack's mind, picked out his dream, and then made it a reality.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's going to be incredible. So interview one. So this week we're going to have two huge interviews. We've got Pete Wentz, of course, of Fall Out Boy. We're going to have Patty Waters from As It Is later on in the show. First up, Pete. We're lucky enough to catch up with him. Talk all about Last of the Real Ones, which were released today, released in the States yesterday, and along with the obviously the tour announcement and everything. So we talked about what's going on with Mania. He dropped some totally exclusive things that I was like, oh my god, when he said them. So tune in, buckle up, and listen to Pete Wentz talking about what Mania is doing, what's going to happen with it, some exclusive stuff. Let's go. Hey Pete, how's it going?
Good, how's it going?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it. So obviously you've moved the date of Mania to early next year now, January next year. So where are you guys at with the album at the moment? Is it still very much a work in progress?
It's a work in progress, yeah, but we're much further along. And it's not necessarily that we weren't far along before. It was just the songs weren't the right songs, you know what I mean? Like, it was just... we totally altered the chorus, I think, which I think was important. I don't think that, honestly, we could, go around the world and kind of tour and play arenas kind of everywhere, I think. But it's a lot tougher to, look at your family or look at whoever and be like, yeah, I'm going to go around the world and kind of promote this record that I think is just mediocre, And so, we don't ever want to do that, And so we just kind of, had pivoted, and I think, so I would say 60 or 70% done with the record now.
Awesome. So was it, in terms of the album not kind of feeling right, I guess, did that kind of come from the direction of where some of the songs had gone? It just didn't feel kind of true to you guys, or where was that kind of coming from?
I don't know, I think it was originally that it was just, so I think we kind of got ourselves into a strange position when we were we put out Young and Menace, and then we were well, what is the rest of the body of work? Because it's not all going to sound like Young and Menace, but we just didn't know what the rest of it was going to sound like. And I think we just kind of found the stuff that we took to make as a product tension between me and Patrick. And we kind of just let each other do our own thing. And I think that we, rather than serving the art, we ended up serving each other. And that leads to make, the songs they just weren't compelling to me. I was just I was listening to them and I was like, I don't know. Do you like this? And Matthew was like, well, I thought you liked it. And it turned out either one of us really did,
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, because obviously the songs you put out, Young and Menace and Champion, are both quite different. Is it did those kind of come from different places as well, or they were sort of songs you were happy with from different areas, or was that kind of, were songs not really gelling as well as those two did?
Well, I don't think stuff gelled as well as those two did. And those are two very different songs that are meant to serve two very different things. I think that Young and Menace was like a palate cleanse. That's what it was meant to be. I think it was, it's like when you're out, tasting wine or whatever, where you sniff the coffee grounds. That's what that was supposed to be. So I think it served its purpose. And then Champion, I love Champion. I think it's a great song. I wish we had found the production that we'd had, our ideal producer before we, figured out Champion. But we ended up coming up with some really cool stuff with Jesse Shatkin, who I think is a monster as far as production or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think now we've kind of figured it out. We're working with a couple different producers, but they're all super specific. So it's you don't bring the elephant gun in when you're hunting rabbits or whatever.
yeah, for sure. Because with the Last of the Real Ones as well, that's coming out on Friday. Where did that come in? Was that from the original Mania sessions, or is that something that's come much more recently?
No, much more recently. I don't think that people will hear anything else from the original Mania sessions, at least in the current incarnation. Maybe you'll get a melody or maybe you'll get a couple lyrics or something, but for the most part it's all scrapped. So yeah, Last of the Real Ones, we went in with this guy Il Angelo. He's a producer that I'm really into, and my buddy Guillemberg, this guy who did Bromance Records in France, hooked us up with Il Angelo, and we went in. He lives not far away, and we just played around with a bunch of stuff. and he had this idea for this crazy, like, super simple piano line, and we built a song around that. Yeah, and I think that it's different. Like, this song's different from both Champion and Young and Menace, and then I also think it's kind of different than anything Fall Out Boy's done before. I think less so sonically and more so the lyrical perspective. You know, it's like maybe like our third ever attempt at like what I would say would be more of like a love song, but it's like kind of twisted, so it's still Fall Out Boy.
Yeah, for sure. Like in terms of your lyrics, then going in like with a song like The Last of the Real Ones, will there be kind of more lyrical departures on the album?
I hope so. I think that this album, the one thing that I loved that when we decided to, you know, kind of give ourselves a do-over was really taking a different perspective. Because I think the stuff that we were doing was kind of a continuation, like a simple continuation from American Beauty, and that's fine. I think that would be fine, but I think it's cool, you know, like to kind of, I don't know, like we do like a hard restart, you know, and that's what I think the lyrical perspective is. I think that it's like more nuanced, you know, like it focuses on like neuroses that I think that, like, because like when you're in your 20s, you can get like the big emotions really easily, you know,
yeah,
and they're big and they're bright and they're harsh. But like I'm older and I'm like, oh, there's all these like nuances, you know, like there's subtlety to neuroses that you don't really, that it's harder to pick up on. And I'm sure like when I'm 60, I'm gonna be like, yeah, that's all like bullshit and like whatever. But like, you know, like I'm a 60-year-old and I get it now. But but for right now, where I'm at, like I think that there's something to be said that how all of our little neuroses like kind of connect us as humans. Like these little glitches that we have and errors are like what make us human, kind of, you know. And so I think that we focused in on that this time around.
Amazing. And sonically as well. I mean, you mentioned Young and Menace as being a kind of a palate cleanser. Is that kind of as kind of out there that Mania's going to get? Or because, I mean, The Last of the Real Ones maybe kind of, I've listened to it a few times now, and it kind of maybe sits in between Young and Menace and Champion, and it's got that kind of experimentation to it, but it's got that real anthemic feel of Champion as well. So is Young and Menace kind of as far as that's going to go, or like what can we expect in that department?
I think, you know, like, so when me and Patrick talk about it, he, I think, would disagree with me. He thinks that we go further than Young Menace, but I think he hears the songs since, like, he's at the inception of the song, you know, so, like, it all sounds different to him, you know what I mean? So, I think that Young and Menace is about as far left, you know, or whatever, that we're going to go on this record, you know, but I think that there's other ones that are, like, in between, and ones that are like, it's interesting, like, that you say anthemic, because it was like anthemic from the moment we heard this piano line. The minute I heard the piano line, I was like, this is an anthem. But it's so odd because it just was like a simple piano line, you know? So I think that there'll be like I think of American Beauty and Say Rock and Roll almost as like a single album cycle because they were just so back to back. Yeah, and I think that there's other stuff that will be a jump from that.
Cool. Is there any hints you can give us, or is this kind of stuff that's very much in the making of at the moment?
I mean, it's in the making of. I would say that the hints would be it's more world influenced than I think we've ever gone before. I'm so like fascinated by a lot of what's happening in Latin music right now and what's happening in African music, and that's like not to say like Fall Out Boy, you know. We have the constraints of being a band, you know, whatever. But I think that those influences come through much more. Maybe in the way that like there's eras of the Clash that feel a little bit islandy, kind of. Yeah,
for sure. As well, because you've dabbled in the kind of the hip hop world as well. Like you've brought Black Bear on tour and that sort of thing. Like, is there going to be maybe an element of that side of things too, alongside this kind of world music edge?
I think so, but I think that the thing that is interesting about hip hop to me. We really focused on American Beauty, and that was, you know, using a lot of samples and trying to see how a rock band could use samples. And I feel like we kind of ran its course with that. But one of the things that we, you know, like, I think that when we when we try these experiments, like we add, like it's like when you're playing a video game and like you add a weapon to your pack or whatever, like, and I keep it then, and I think we've kept the like track sense, the like the percussive elements, the stuff that comes from like trap music, like the best parts of it, I think are still in our like production bag. Like you'll still hear that, or I still hear it at least.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I mean, as well, and I guess as well with the change in date of the album release and everything. Did it take a real kind of courage to do that? Because obviously the album's so hyped and there's so many people looking forward to it and excited for it. Like, was it a really difficult decision? Did it take a lot of courage from you guys to kind of make that decision?
I think that it was not a difficult decision when we were like, yeah, you need to put out like what's the alternative? Like, what is worse than putting out with something that you are not proud of or you think is a mediocre record? Like, what the alternative has to be better than whatever that is, like, to me, because I think, like, especially the way the culture we live in right now with the internet and whatnot, like, I think that there's more room for mediocrity. Like, you can put out something really bad and you can put out something really good and that'll make noise. And you can polarize people, which is what, like, Young and Menace did. You can put out interesting things, but there's no room. Like mediocre is there's too much stuff out there, like it's just you'll get no reaction. And I think that, I think about it in terms of, and I've talked about this a little bit before, but like in terms of like if Lucasfilm was like, if we put out Star Wars right now, like it'll be whatever. If you give us like 3 more months, we'll give you a really good version of Star Wars. Me as a fan is like, yeah, you should definitely take the 3 months. Like, I don't want to see a mediocre version,
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. And I mean, like you're saying, sort of the way that the music industry moves so fast now, do you think that other bands might not kind of feel that they can do that, that they can kind of hold, they can kind of change the reason, like really work on things and give people what, they want to give them as opposed to, feeling like that they're having to rush stuff out and that thing. Do you think there's a real pressure on bands nowadays for that sort of thing?
I mean, like, yes and no. Like, yes, in a way that, like, when we put out American Beauty, it was like an experiment to see if we could operate at the speed that, like, DJs and rappers do as far as recording and creating the album. And that kind of, like, I think almost killed us. But at the same time, I think that there's a lot of bands that think that you can operate the way you did 10 years ago, and, like, that's just, I mean, and that's fine. I think that there's room for that, I think that there's clearly like that lane exists, but it doesn't exist if you want to be a band that's mentioned in the same sentence as like Drake or something. Like that just doesn't. That's not possible, And so you are, emboldened or limited by, the times you live in, And so like if you're not willing to use laptops and work on airplanes and, like whatever, then there's somebody else who will, like then like Skrillex will do it. And like, you can say that it's not rock music, but like all the kids that are at his concerts moshing, like disagree with you, And so I think you have to evolve, like to me, and that's the nature of art and that's the nature of human beings, we live in like a hip hop world, I mean, and if anybody who disagrees with me, like, come out to the like suburbs that I live in. Every kid here dresses like wants to be ASAP or wants to be Kanye. Like it's like the world we live in. And I think that there are some bands and there's some artists that still are at the forefront of pop culture and pop music, and some are like fine with not. Like because and that's fine too. Like it's like I think people thought that because people thought that marching band music was going to be big forever, like at some point, like that was the biggest music in the world, and it just time moves on. And I think if you adapt, you can still be a part of it, and you can, I mean, if that's authentic to who you are.
Yeah, definitely. Before you go, let me just ask you, what's the Mania experience that you're teasing on Instagram?
Oh, the Mania experience. Oh yeah. So we're planning on something big. It will be top of the year, and all I can say, because it's not completely finished yet, is that it's going to be physical. Like, this is not going to be, like a meme or like a hashtag or something. Like, this is going to be a physical thing. But we're like deep in the process of like seeing if we can even get it done.
Awesome. So that was my chat with Pete Wentz, Full Out Boy. So like Mania, like the old session scrapped, like big, hey?
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty brave thing to do for any band, to like literally just completely start again. But like, fair play to them. As he said, he doesn't want to put something out that's mediocre because like the internet will kill you for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, fair play to them. Like, it means we've got to wait longer, but if what we're waiting for turns out to be a masterpiece, then I think it's worth the wait.
For sure. I mean, this is by what he said as well, it's the Stump Wentz axis going at each other crazy big. Like, it sounds like it could be maybe another Infinity on High, another Folly Ad Do. I don't know what's to come. It's really exciting.
Can I just say, Verse, this is just another chapter in the Big Willie world exclusive hootenanny.
Oh God.
Like, ridiculous. To get, like, you've got Pete open up about so many amazing things here, man. Like, kudos for that.
Cheers, man.
But yeah, like, it's very interesting them saying like it was the scrapped part which really got me, and the fact that it does sound like it's Stump and Wentz going at it. Yeah, even now they're 60-70% done.
Yeah.
On the new stuff, but it does make me wonder like how that's going to change again and again. But also, I think that chemistry is what makes the best music from Fall Out Boy. Like, they're never coasting, they're never like being happy with where they are or what they're doing, and I think that dynamic is what's always propelled them forwards. But the other thing which got me was like because Pete he's a very brash man. Like, he's very poetic and romantic in the things which he likes about music and about Fall Out Boy. And the big thing I picked up was like how he's very into Latin and African music at the minute.
I love that bit.
Yeah.
Which he just threw that in, like, you know, like I'm not listening to Stand Atlantic at the minute or whatever. I'm listening to like Latin American like salsa or whatever, and thinking about how he wants to incorporate that into what Fall Out Boy is doing now, which I think is like, for someone of their size and that stature to still be taking risks like that and thinking outside the box in such a way, like, it's.
I really hope they throw in like some little salsa bits or something, just so I can watch you like dancing around the room to it, like learning full salsa moves. Just you.
It's like
enjoy
perfect.
it.
I mean, you should see me salsa. Like, at Glastonbury this year, I salsa for 2 hours straight.
I'm sure it was something to be
picked up
witnessed.
everything.
It's a new dance move every week for you, or a new dance style.
I'm full of them, man. It's like it's all those years of Strictly.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't know. I just think it's amazing, just like to hear Pete being so open and honest about like the thunder which is going on in these recordings, and like not shying away from the fact that they've pushed the album back like 5 months or whatever it is. Like, a lot of bands wouldn't have the guts to say we weren't happy, and to know that, like, you know, he said that now Young and Mason Champion were the songs which were gelling, and that the rest just didn't fit. Like, he could just said, we were just like, we weren't bothered, but to say we weren't happy with these like at all, and I think it's quintessentially Fall Out Boy.
Totally, yeah. I think this could be a real, like, absolute monster of an album. I mean, obviously we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, but one last thing that I love that he said as well is that he was saying about channeling the times and really adapting as an artist. He was saying, you know, like, you have to work on a plane on a laptop, because if you're not going to do it, there's going to be someone else who will. And I love that. It's just totally savvy, and he clearly gets the music industry as it is in 2017, and that bodes very well for this album, I think.
Yeah, that's something I really picked up on from the interview, and I think it's something that needs to be said, and to come from someone like Pete Wentz as well. I think it's really important that bands actually listen to what he was saying then, because he was saying, like, you know, bands need to look at hip-hop artists and what they are doing and how they are changing things, because, and it's the same, like, I've noticed it over the festival season this year, like, the hip-hop artists, the grime artists, the dance artists, they are getting the crowds and the energy that a lot of rock bands or alternative bands, pop punk bands, that's who they should be getting. But the way that the world is changing, the internet is changing, the way music is released is changing, like, you need to stay one step ahead, and the best people to look at are hip-hop artists. I think that was, like, really interesting for him to point out. And it's like with, you know he's taken Black Bear on tour.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of just shows how lines are blurring, things are changing, and people kind of need to keep up with that because it is how it's going to be.
Totally, yeah. So more on Mania as we get it. Huge shout to Pete for coming on the podcast. So
Thanks,
cool.
Pete.
Thank you, Peter.
And yeah, just hopefully we can get him or Patrick on again. It'd be amazing. Cool, so Jack.
Shall we do some listeners' questions?
Shall we?
SWS_SOF asked us if we could revive one artist, who would it be? Tamsin?
I am going to go with a band who have kind of like teased a revival, but they're just not really delivering the goods. And it's a band called Alexis on Fire.
Shout.
Who are kind of, if you don't know what's kind of happened with Alexis on Fire, so they put out just like insane records, and they soundtracked, I think, pretty much all of our teenage growing up years, and even now still listen to them frequently. And then they did their farewell shows about 5 years ago now. And then a couple of years ago, we're like, we're coming back. We're going to do some live shows. We're going to play Reading and Leeds. We're going to play this festival. We're going to play that festival. And they've done some shows in Australia. They're doing some shows in Canada. But they're kind of like, we're going to play some shows when we feel like playing some shows, but we've got no plans to make music or anything like that. So if they could just sort themselves out and make a new record, which is what everyone wants, and then do a proper tour, that would be lovely.
Yeah, blinding shout. Yeah, do that, guys. I was going to go and Let Live, obviously, but I'm banning myself from that because it was only this year. So I'm going to go for Cobra Starship.
Mate.
Just because they released what is, in my opinion, possibly the best pop banger the last couple of years, in Never Been in Love, which was just this song they just threw out of nowhere after a lot of time away, that kind of was like, I mentioned The Main covering Still My Sunshine a few episodes ago. It's like that, but in kind of modern form, and it had a Kona pop on it as well. It's absolutely amazing. I was like, oh my god, if they do an album of these, this is going to be so sick. And then they just went, oh, we're splitting up. And that was it. So, Gabe, get Cobra Starship back together, please. That would be amazing.
I'm going to go with Transit.
Oh,
Strong shout.
It was only about a year ago, and there's still kind of like, the wounds are still there, but just the loveliest group of lads making lovely music, made for singing along to, like, and the scene is a much sadder place without them. Please come back, Transit. Tapu_Lilily.
Oh, that was nearly System of a Down.
Yeah, nearly. If there was a couple more Lees, yeah. Ask, what's our favourite movie with a good soundtrack? I'm going to go with American Pie: The Wedding.
I very nearly chose an American Pie.
I had American Pie too.
But I'm going to list off. American Pie: The Wedding had Anthem, Good Charlotte, Swing Swing, All American Rejects, Hellsong, Sum 41, Come Back Around, Feeder. Do I need to say anything else? No.
Amazing. All right, if you went American Pie: The Wedding, I'm going to go Mean Girls instead. Bit
Strong.
of a pop edge, but Samantha Ronsta's Built This Way is like, it's kind of pop rock. It's got Pink on it. It's so good, that soundtrack. Big shout out to The Breakfast Club as well, if we're going to go 80s.
Yeah, that's also a very good shout.
Thank you.
I'm going to go, I feel like I'm going to be really, really judged for this, but I'm going to go with it anyway. The first Twilight movie soundtrack.
Fair enough.
Because you got bangers from Muse, Linkin Park, Robert Pattinson wrote some songs for it. That was lovely. Iron and Wine are on it. It's a very lovely soundtrack. I enjoy it quite a lot.
There's no judgment here.
No shame.
I also really like the film.
Shame.
The film's alright, and it film's pretty good. And just to finish off a quick one from Magda All Time Low, what are our favourite songs of Last Young Renegade? And I'm going to go with Good Times and Dark Side of the Room.
Ground Control featuring Tig and Sarah, or Life of the Party, pop banger.
Drugs and Candy.
Ooh.
Straight out, best song on the album.
What we said there is basically, that's such a good album.
Yeah,
is it? Yeah,
Like,
just
it's that
all
good.
of the album.
Yeah, man, says it all, man. Yeah, awesome.
Good questions. Well done, everyone.
So, we've launched a new issue, our brand new issue featuring Sleeping with Sirens on the cover. It's the banger collection. Is now available at shop.roxanne.tv. So cool. Our designer Tom Morgan, shout out again, second week, designed these amazing kind of synthwave 80s retro futuristic covers with the band. Really cool. So you can get the Superfan bundle, which includes everything, 20 quid, absolute bargain. Or you can get the Legends bundle, which is their limited edition covers, Legends bundle has a vinyl sticker or hand-signed poster print by the whole band. Really, really cool. So if you're an uber Sing with Sirens fan, you have to get on that. And then there's the Gossip bundle, which is my personal favourite, which has an exclusive tote bag designed by frontman Kellen Quinn himself, and also an exclusive pocket mirror as well. Super, super cool. So get on that. Our associate editor Rob Sayers wrote the cover feature. Really interesting. Takes you inside everything, a new album, new rebirth that is Gossip. Really digs deep, and the band really went deep and honest on everything that went into the album and kind of building themselves back up from the ground, basically, which is a super interesting read. So if you're a Sing with Sirens fan, you have to get on this. Honestly, absolutely essential. And then also in the issue, my chat with Andy Biersack on New Black Veil Brides, and Andy Black as well. New album's coming. If you want to check out the podcast episode with my chat on that, check it out. It's from a few weeks ago. Jack, you spoke to Seaway.
I did speak to Seaway.
How was it?
Seaway are lovely, lovely, lovely boys. I did a piece where they showed us some pictures from their photo album as a band and saw their main highlights throughout their career over the past few years, such as their headliner at the Underworld in London, their first band promo together, the last days of recording of their new album Vacation, and them playing Cornhole on Warped Tour, and just got the backstory about what is possibly the best pop punk album of the year.
For sure, out today.
It is out today. Go and listen to Vacation now.
Man.
Just so many jams, and the guys just gave me a big insight into the creation of it, and as I say again, lovely guys.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, there's a song on the album called Neurotic as well, which won the Songs of the Year. Amazing. Check that out now. Also, John O'Callaghan, the Rock Sound Sage, is coming for life lessons. Super interesting read. Derek from Mayday Parade, who are going to be coming over to do 10 years of A Lesson in Romantics, as said, it's my tunes. Loads of stuff going on. Marmoset's in the studio. The return of Waterparks are going to be coming back to the UK later this month. Can't wait for that. And there's a Class of 2007 poster special as well, which is super, super cool. Last week we talked about our favourite album from 2007. So all those bands are in there, along with a whole host of others. Check it all out. shop.rocksound.tv. Check it out. So, interview 2, Patty Walters. You've been calling for him for weeks and weeks and weeks. We finally got him. So, it's really, really cool to catch up with Patty. And we were just going to chat about OK, really, and just the year that album's kind of brought the band success it's had. Ended up kind of transforming into a chat about new music already being maybe not recorded yet, but ideas being put out there. The fact that it might not even be very pop punk or rocky, it might be something completely different. Crazy stuff. So here we go. We've been calling for him. It is Patty Walters of As It Is.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. So listeners have been asking for you every week, so they can be super excited about it.
That's kind of them. I appreciate that. I've actually been telling them to ask for me every week. I'm just like, okay, they haven't asked me yet, so just keep on annoying Rock Sound until we get there.
Well, it's worked, because we're going to talk about, I guess, a year of OK, and kind of what's coming up for you guys and everything. So, yeah, I guess to kick off then, how OK was done at the very start of the year, released at the very start of the year. How has a year of OK been?
Well, that's the thing that is just so baffling to me, is that this record came out, I think it was January 20th of this year, and it already feels like it's been out forever. Like it's just kind of always existed. We recorded it, finished tracking it only just over a year ago now. We were in the studio July and August of 2016. And singles started rolling out from around this time onwards. I think OK was the first song that we put out. And that's crazy because, I mean, we're already deep into planning the next record, and we're deep into kind of touring again. And just talking about the future of the band. And it almost in a way feels like that we like achieved and just wrote a record we were so proud of. And it instead of kind of like really relishing in kind of how great it all felt, we were all like, yeah, we just really want to do that again. And we moved on to the next chapter really quickly. So I think that's what's so crazy, is that it's still such a really new and fresh chapter in the band, but we were all so proud of the last record, and so excited for, like, you know, there were certain things that we got right, we felt. There were certain things that we got wrong, we felt. We were like, okay, well, let's take everything that we've learned and just make an even better record and make an even greater chapter in the band. And I think that's the thing, is just kind of, we haven't really paused to really reflect or kind of even slow down while it's here. So OK has been incredible, and there's some songs that we're super proud of, and it's nice to see a record that really kind of connected with so many people that did and didn't previously like this band. I think that's the thing I'm most proud of with the record, is that, we watched a lot of, fan or even critic reviews on YouTube, and just kind of generally read them online. There were people that did and didn't like us, and really thought kind of unanimously that this record was a step up. So I think that's the thing we're most proud of. So it's been crazy that it's still such just kind of a new and fresh and recent chapter in the band, because I think a lot of our heads are kind of living in the near future.
Wow. Okay. So with the new music then, like where are you up to with that? Are ideas very much already blossoming then?
A little bit. It's mostly conversational for the time being. But we've always said, and you can see it with OK, is that we never want to write the same record twice. So whatever that kind of means for the music and the lyrics or anything else in the future, we're always going to try something different and try something that's really kind of representative of us as people at the time. That's the thing, is we all have very eclectic music tastes, and it's not strictly pop punk, it's not even strictly alternative music. So I think it's going to just be relatively eclectic and relatively ambitious, and we'll just kind of play around and see what happens.
Amazing. Yeah, because with OK, obviously you've had the whole kind of 50s aesthetic and that sort of thing. Like, will there be a complete change again for the new record, do you reckon?
Almost certainly. I guess I can't guarantee it at this point, but I think it's been really fun to play with such kind of bold, conceptual and images and looks and all this really fun stuff. It's been really exciting to kind of liberate ourselves even further than the music, just as far as the imagery and the concepts go. So yeah, it's very possible. It's very possible.
Awesome. And listening back to OK now as well, are you still really proud of it? Like, are there any particular songs that you're really, really proud of?
I am really proud of it. I think the thing I'm most proud about was that we kind of liberated ourselves musically, and it would have made sense to a lot of bands to go, okay, like how can we take what was right about Never Happy Ever After and make it more, I don't know, accessible is maybe the appropriate term, but I mean mainstream, or just kind of how can we kind of dilute it and make it more kind of, I don't know, what people expect to hear. But what we really wanted to do was just like, let's just, as it is, doesn't have to sound like any one thing. I mean, let's just play with what we want to write. We can write darker, or we can even write poppier. And I think you can see both those elements kind of present on OK. So moments like Soap and moments like Austin, moments like No Way Out that are much darker, I'm particularly proud of, because it's, instead of going like, how can we make this more mainstream? It's like, how can we really possibly fuck up the incredible opportunity that we have right in front of us? Like, how can we truly alienate everybody that's signed on board with this band and has really like taken an interest in us? So that was really exciting to see that people resonated with that kind of darker side of our music, but equally Pretty Little Distance and Still Remembering are some of the poppier songs we've ever written. So it's you really get both ends of the spectrum, more so than you do on our previous record, and maybe more so than you will on any future record. It was just a really exciting moment of anything musically is possible for this album. So we just kind of embraced that.
Very cool, yeah. Because I mean, in terms of that kind of eclecticism then that you were going for with the album, I mean, do you feel that's really kind of extended over to as it is as a band going through the year? Because I mean, like I saw you guys absolutely nail it at Download and things like that. It kind of feels like you guys are sort of moving into so many different areas.
I think we've just become more confident as musicians and just people that are in this career. I think, we played Download, we played a couple metal festivals across like Germany and Belgium, things that we really wouldn't have been, suited to if we weren't already, definitely not a few years ago. But we didn't even really talk about like, should we make changes to the set? Should I be like screaming more? It was just kind of, let's just get up there, do what we always do, put on a really good show, just kind of have a lot of fun. And I think just kind of, the fun we're having and the ability to which we can kind of do what we've learned to do is just going to speak for itself. And I think playing as many shows as we have, we've certainly gotten better than we were in 2014 or 2015. And we're just kind of enjoying that. There's like a level of confidence there that there wasn't before. I'm not a particularly confident person outside of music. It's the only thing I feel like I've ever been even slightly good at. So it's nice to just kind of be able to not be kind of crippled with fear. Not to say that I don't get nervous. There's a lot of shows I still get incredibly nervous for. But it's nice to get up there and, feel in the moment and feel like, this is we're doing something special and something that we really love. And that's pretty cool.
Oh man, brilliant! I mean, in terms of tours as well, you had the US headliner earlier this year with Rome and Grayscale and Sleep on It, and I've actually chatted to the Rome guys and Colin from Grayscale about it, and obviously seen all of you guys on Twitter. It just looked like it was absolutely amazing. Like, tell us about that.
Yeah, we did a really good job of making it look like everybody was really good fun out there and that we were all having a good time. It was actually just everybody was, stuck to their own dressing rooms and nobody was hanging out. And we were like, okay, guys, we're gonna fake a picture right now so everybody look happy and get together. No, it was cool. We've learned so much from like being taken out by bands that we really look up to. And a lot of those bands have been, we've been fortunate enough that they've been like fantastic people and they've treated us really, really well. I think the two most notable are going to be Set It Off and Mayday Parade, who really looked after us and like thanked us for being on the tour and like really made us feel welcome. And, we could be in their dressing room anytime and we didn't feel like we were intruding. And this was our first chance to be that kind of headliner. It was nice to be the band kind of looking out for everybody else for a change. And it was nice to just be surrounded by such good people and to always have such a good atmosphere. I think that's what we learned from bands like Set It Off and Mayday Parade, that, you can be a headliner, you can be incredible on stage every night, but you can also be just really humble and you can be like really good to the bands that you've chosen to bring out. So it was a really fun tour. It was a really special moment in this band and, playing such exciting shows. Playing some of the songs on OK that we hadn't played ever in that continent or in that country was really, really exciting and really special.
Amazing, yeah, because as well in terms of that kind of camaraderie and kind of looking out for each other and everything, do you think the scene as a whole, the kind of pop punk scene or just the rock scene, the alt rock scene, do you think it's in really, really good health right now?
I certainly think so. And I think that's cool because anybody who's kind of in this industry discovered alternative music at a younger age and has kind of grown up with it. So it's nice to see younger people still kind of resonating with, aggressive or angsty music, kind of like we did all those years ago. And it's nice to see kind of UK festivals really embracing not only pop punk, but like alternative music in general. You see it at Slam Dunk and Download, but equally you see like Reading and Leeds embracing like pop punk, and that's pretty cool. And there have always been UK pop punk bands as long as pop punk's been a genre, but it's really only been within the last, 3, maybe 4 years that international eyes have been looking over to UK pop punk or even international pop punk. It was just a US dominated genre back earlier than 5 years ago. So I think that's what's pretty exciting. So I think we have an incredible scene right now, not only in the UK, but just kind of worldwide. And that's really, really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. No, I totally agree. And I mean, thinking of that as well, you've got these super diverse tours coming up with both Waterparks in the US and Canada and Neck Deep in the UK and Europe. How are you feeling about those?
I am incredibly excited. I think those are going to be some of the most fun shows and tours that we've been lucky enough to do. We're kind of figuring out our sets right now. And really just wanting them to be fantastic. And I think that's the thing is, like I said, in regards to those kind of metal festivals in Germany and Belgium, we're going to be going out with a band like Waterparks, and there are darker elements on OK. And it's kind of like, are those elements appropriate? Are they really going to connect with people? Or are we just going to alienate everybody in the crowd? And I think it's that thing of kind of, we know the band that we are, we're just going to get up there and be kind of the proudest of our music that we can. And, we're going to embrace those poppy and darker elements and just kind of own it. So I think we're just, going to stick to, certain heavy and certain poppier aspects. And, if people get it, they get it. And if they don't, they don't. But, we're going to be having an awesome time. And, some of these rooms on the Neck Deep tour are going to be some of the biggest UK venues we've ever played. Brixton in particular is a very important venue for me. I saw so many bands that mean the world to me when I was younger there. And to be up on that stage is going to be a really, really big deal for not only me, but everybody in this band. And it's just going to be really exciting.
Amazing, man. I can't wait. And I mean, talking about that eclecticism as well across bills and across festivals and in the scene in general, do you think that's really important? Do you think that's something that kind of, either will naturally continue to get bigger, or do you think it's something that should get bigger? I mean, is eclecticism within this realm of music super important, do you think?
I think generally there's a pretty decent amount of kind of open-mindedness amongst, people who listen to alternative music. And I think luckily, when we did our headline tour in 2016, we brought over a band with Confidence who sound a lot like us, and a band, Jewel Vera, who don't necessarily sound a lot like us, but we got to know them on Warped Tour and thought they put out an amazing show. And it was cool to see people falling in love with that band like we did, just as they would with a band that sounded similar to us. And I think that's the thing, is our taste is so eclectic that we don't just want to bring out bands that sound exactly like we do. In the future, we're going to bring out bands that might sound even outside the whole kind of rock world. And it's just kind of an exciting possibility, I guess.
Wow, man, I can't wait. I mean, in terms of your kind of timeline then, in terms of new music and maybe kind of future tours that you kind of sort of touched on, that sort of thing, what's the plan as we go into 2018?
That is a good question, because it's still pretty up in the air. All we know about what's locked in as far as tours go is what's in place for the end of this year. The last Waterparks show is the last thing that we know for certain that we're doing. But we know we want to get these songs recorded sometime early next year, and then just do what we do and just tour kind of relentlessly until the record inevitably comes out. So we'll just kind of see when it all happens, but it's a pretty exciting kind of prospect for right now.
Really cool. So big shout out to Patty for coming on the podcast. Really cool that he told us all this stuff as well. Jack, what are you saying?
I'd just like to say, Patty, if you're listening, I hope you had a lovely birthday and a nice trip to Harry Potter World. Yeah. But yeah, I think the most interesting thing the main thing is that they're done with OK. And OK only came out in January.
Yeah.
And I think the days are gone where because usually with bands it's like, release an album, tour it for 2 years, go into the studio, release, tour, release, and there's huge gaps, and it's like this anticipation, like the bigger bands do it. But I think it's changed now that bands can be done with their music instantly. Like there was a big kind of 50s aesthetic, which as it is pulled for this album and made all these amazing like characters on the album and like with the artwork. And even though they put that much work into it, if they're done, they're done. They're not going to stick around just for the sake of like the work that's put in. And it sounds as though you didn't really enjoy that album. It's been there for a year and they're just over it. And I'm saying that now they can write darker, but they can write poppier. Like it's just interesting hearing him talk, one, so honestly about a thing which they've nurtured for that long and just like showing it, but also being as excited about the future going forwards.
Amazing, yeah. I mean, super honest chat, I think. I mean, Tamsin, what did you take from it?
I mean, I think for starters, it's really nice to hear him be a lot happier, and as you said, they're more confident as a band since OK came out. And they've done so much since that album. Like, when you said in the podcast, like, oh, it came out at the start of the year, and I was like, no, it didn't. It came out like 2 weeks ago. What are you on about? Yeah. And I was like, no, it actually came out in January. It's been that long. But they've achieved so much since that album. And I remember when it came out, and I was like, this is definitely the sound of a band who have finally kind of found themselves, what they want to do, where they want to go with their music. And I like that he was kind of like, so with OK, obviously they had the whole 50s thing, and it was all kind of a little bit themed. And I'm really interested to see what happens with this new album. Whether they kind of carry that over, whether they go even darker than before. Like, I feel like kind of Patty just started opening up about like a few dark subjects and his demons and stuff on this album, just kind of like as a little taster. And I feel like this next album could reveal a lot more about him and the band. And I think yeah, they're gonna keep going for years. I think they're as you said, the UK pop punk scene is really, really strong right now. And I think there's a lot more in as it is yet.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I think this is just the beginning, and I think OK could be a bridge, good as it is. I think it could be a bridge to something even bigger.
Yeah.
OK is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's an amazing album. It's like a real testament to songwriting.
Yeah.
Especially when, without being pigeonholed into just a pop punk band. And to not be happy with that album, that's wild. But it just bodes so many good things that they want to push even further from what is a near perfect pop record.
Totally, yeah.
I kind of feel it was like, I got the impression from the way he was talking about kind of the writing and stuff they're doing at the moment. It's just OK was good, but you have no idea what is coming next.
So buzzed. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I'd love to hear him. He was talking about playing download and stuff and exploring his range a bit more. I know and as well from his YouTube videos, I know he can scream. I'd love to hear him properly scream on As It Is album.
Imagine
that.
Imagine Patty Walters bringing in a beat down.
Oh man, I hope it happens.
I've always wanted to see a frontman smile as he watches a wall of death go together.
Patty Walters is the man.
Yeah, it looked like he's like, yes, my plan has finally come together.
So yeah, new music next year, hopefully. Big shout out to Patty. We'll get him on again for sure. So yeah, awesome. Huge shout out to him. Cool. So RS shouts this week. We're going to link it in with Fall Out Boy, Sleeping with Sirens, and especially what we're just talking about with Patty, in that bands having a rebirth and changing completely what they're about. So I'm going to give this over to Tamsin first.
I'm going to go with what are probably one of the biggest bands in our scene right now, Panic at the Disco. I mean, they that debut album, I mean, come on, it was huge. It was amazing. It still is amazing. I love it. I love everything about it. And then I feel like they had that awkward stage where it was like, oh, we don't really know what band we want to be. Where do we go from now? Do we do an album dedicated to the Beatles, or do we
yes,
because you got 9 in the afternoon out of it. But I feel like there was kind of stage and members left, and there was lineup changes in it, and then Death of a Bachelor came out, and everyone was just like, oh my god, it was the first time that Brendan had just worked by himself, writing the whole thing himself, pretty much producing it all himself, writing it from home. And he absolutely smashed it, and I think, and the whole vibe around it with kind of the 50s jazz Gatsby thing, it totally worked. And you can just see from that, going onto Broadway and things, the things that album has done for the band and for him is insane.
Yeah, he's completely rebuilt that band. It's
crazy. I feel like he has kind of picked up the pieces and gone I am not letting go yet.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna grab it by the horns or whatever and just go with it and do what I want to do, and it's paid off massively.
Super inspiring. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna go with actually my favourite band growing up. I haven't actually mentioned much on the podcast yet. Slipknot with Volume 3, the Subliminal Verses. Obviously Slipknot with this crazy gargantuan monster of a band, a thing that everyone was like, what is this, for from 1999 through 2001 with the self-titled in Iowa, and then they went away for a bit, and it was all kind of a bit didn't know what was going on, bit of internal strife, that sort of thing, and they came back with this album that just completely rebirthed them. It's like a phoenix coming out of the ashes, and before they'd just been, there'd so much going on in the music, but they'd been this bludgeoning, brutal force, whereas now this is where it all opened up, and there were songs like Circle, which is basically an acoustic song, and Corey really, really opening up on his range, and it was just I just remember listening to this when I was I think it came out when I was about 12, and it was just oh my god, these guys, I've been obsessed with this band, and now they've just shown that they can do literally anything. Honestly, it's like a milestone for creativity, in my opinion. Absolutely brilliant.
Mine's I think it's so obvious that it's easy to forget that this transformation took place, but MCR, if you listen back and just think of how Three Cheers was, this scrappy, like nondescript, amazing, just cathartic experience, which like even now, like all these years on, I still can't put under a label. Like it's impossible to go from that to make the biggest rock opera that's ever existed and probably ever will exist in the Black Parade, and make it smooth all those edges out and just create this whole different landscape, which from the band who's in the I'm Not Okay video, could you have ever seen like if you jump from that to like Famous Last Words and how they look, it's unbelievable like how far that band travelled and how much they brought to the table in such a short amount of time, and then even from there onto Danger Days.
Yeah, mad.
Like went from that, like just each bound has been huge, and I think just because of how brilliant and huge they are, it's easy to forget like what they did throughout their career, and like looking back now, it's just a pleasure to like be able to observe and study it even more than we did when we were younger, and just when you just banged your head and cried.
Yeah, there were 2 years between Three Cheers and the Black Parade as well. It's mental.
Like, ridiculous.
Absolutely mental. Yeah, it was my second choice, actually. And stay tuned in the coming weeks for Mr. Frank Iero on this podcast. That's going to be very exciting. Cool, so we're coming to the close of this week's show. Unfortunately, it always goes too fast. At shop.rocksound.tv, we have launched a new cover exclusive with Sleeping with Sirens. Super, super interesting. Limited edition covers. The story of gossip. Absolutely amazing. Check out the super fan bundle. Only 20 quid on shop.rocksound.tv. An absolute bargain. Check that out. Buy them up because they will sell out. The gossip bundle, exclusive tote bag designed by Kellen Quinn, along with an exclusive pocket mirror. And also a legend bundle if you want something that includes a vinyl sticker, the band's logo, along with a hand signed poster print by the whole band. Super, super cool. It's got chats with Andy Biersack on Black Veil Brides and Andy Black and those albums coming up. Jeremy McKinnon's best production moments. Jack's chat with Seaway. Mention him again, Frank Iero doing an Ask Me Anything. Derek Sarner's My Tunes. John O'Callaghan Life Lessons. The return of Waterparks. The return of Marmozets. So much stuff going on. You've got to buy these up. As I say, they will sell out. Shop.rocksound.tv. Get on them, tell us your favourite things, buy them up, be amazing. Huge shout to our Scuzz TV show as well. If you want to watch the TV show and read along, you want to check out the new bands, everything included in the magazine. You want to check these bands out if you don't know them, or if you like getting to know these bands, perfect way. Just read along, watch all their absolutely amazing songs on Scuzz on daily. Check that out. And also our Spotify playlists have been refreshed. So we've got absolutely amazing stuff. RS classics, emo, post-hardcore, pop punk, anything that you're interested in. Pop sound as well, of course, which we mention every week. All of these been refreshed. New tunes going on in there. We've also launched the Rock Sound chart, haven't we, Jack?
Oh yeah, like the Rock Sound chart. I listen to it nearly every day. It's the perfect mix of everything which embodies what rock sound's about. All the bands, all the bangers. Not as much bands as you get on here, but just Sleeping with Sirens, Architects, Seaway, Across the Atlantic, Paris,
Stand Atlantic.
Stand Atlantic. Stand Atlantic. Just, yeah, it's brilliant, and that's updated every Tuesday.
Amazing. Yeah, I was listening to that on the way into work, actually. It's perfect. Such a good length as well. Like, if you want to know everything that's going on in Rock Sound, you have to listen to that and subscribe. So get us on Spotify, get us on Instagram, get us on Twitter, get us on Facebook. Check everything out. Talk to us. We want to talk to you about music. We want to talk to you what you want on this show. So talk to us. It's been good. I'll see you guys next week with chats with Mr. Matt Welsh of While She Sleeps, and also Mr. Nick Martin of Sleeping with Sirens.
There's a lot of sleeping going on, isn't there?
Oh yeah, it's the sleep special.
I'm well excited. I love sleeping.
Yeah, we're going to be talking to Nick from Sleeping with Sirens on album release day of Gossip. That's going to be super interesting. Tamsin, you had a good time?
I've had a lovely time.
Awesome.
As always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack?
Yeah, it's alright, yeah.
There we go. Alright guys, see you next week.
Bye.